Large-scale ecosystem engineering. Nature as large-scale ecosystem engineering holds immense promise for securing the stability of Earth's interconnected systems. In 2007, the United Nations launched the Great Green Wall Initiative, a monumental effort to plant a 500-mile belt of trees across the entire African continent. This vast, burgeoning forest will not only sequester 250 million tons of carbon, but also combat desertification, bolster food security, and generate millions of jobs. Effectively managing our planet will necessitate forging deep alliances with the biosphere. This includes the crucial preservation of natural carbon sinks like the Amazon rainforest, a vital ecological counterweight to human activity. Yet, in some instances, it may also involve bioengineering new forms of life itself. By tweaking the machinery of photosynthesis, scientists have recently engineered plants that exhibit growth up to 40% larger than their natural counterparts, hinting at a future of radically enriched crops and plant life. They have also begun to engineer algae capable of converting sunlight into clean-burning hydrogen fuel, and microbes were programmed to generate electricity from mud and wastewater. But perhaps most dramatically, we are now on the cusp of creating a hybrid woolly mammoth by carefully editing the genes of Asian elephants. These resurrected creatures could be reintroduced to the Arctic, where their presence would help maintain the frozen permafrost and prevent billions of tons of CO2 from escaping into the atmosphere. Genetic engineering could emerge as our most potent tool for planetary management, maintaining ecological balance and fostering a more diverse and resilient biosphere. The wonders of the future may not be forged from concrete or circuits, but from cells. Consider these mechanical trees. They mimic their biological counterparts by absorbing carbon onto specialized plates that function like leaves. Once captured, the carbon can be safely stored or recycled, and the cycle repeats. A single one of these machines can sequester as much carbon as 1,000 living trees. Vast forests of artificial trees could be deployed in inhospitable regions, and with 100 million of them, we could potentially offset our entire carbon emissions. Ocean recovery and polar preservation. Carbon dioxide dissolving into our oceans is disrupting delicate food chains by increasing the water's acidity. Pulverizing portions of barren seabed could allow rock particles to absorb the excess CO2, restoring balance to marine ecosystems. A single, strategically placed nuclear detonation, 5 kilometers beneath the seabed, could shatter enough rock to sequester 30 years' worth of carbon emissions. The device would have to be immense, potentially over 1,000 times more powerful than Tsar Bomba, the largest nuclear bomb ever detonated. However, the immense pressure of the deep sea would contain the blast and minimize fallout. The remote Kerguelen Plateau, with its mostly barren and basalt-rich seafloor, could be an ideal location. This represents geoengineering at its most extreme and most perilous. Yet, the imperative to preserve our oceans and the lives of millions makes even the most radical ideas worth considering. For a safer approach to managing our seas, we don't have to venture far from shore. Artificial reefs, constructed from sunken ships and man-made materials, can transform into bustling marine cities. Studies have shown fish abundance increasing up to 20 times compared to bare seabed. Widespread artificial reefs could significantly boost the ocean's natural carbon drawdown by providing habitats for trillions of corals, shellfish, and seaweeds that capture carbon during their growth. On a massive scale, these reefs could also offer powerful natural defenses, reducing coastal erosion and mitigating storm surges by absorbing wave energy. But planetary hydro management extends beyond protecting our oceans. It necessitates preserving the glaciers and ice sheets that help cool the world and hold back the rising seas. Consider the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica, a colossal ice sheet spanning 75 miles. Rising ocean temperatures are causing warm oceanic currents to snake their way beneath the glacier, leading to cracking and destabilization. If it were to collapse into the sea, it could trigger up to 10 feet of sea level rise, inundating coastal cities worldwide. To avert this disaster, A geoengineer at the University of Lapland has proposed an ambitious plan, constructing a massive 100-kilometer-long underwater curtain around the glacier, designed to block the warm ocean currents from reaching the ice's underside. This vast undersea barrier would be engineered to withstand collisions with icebergs and could be removable if unforeseen issues arise. At the opposite pole, ambitious proposals are being developed to halt the alarming loss of Arctic sea ice. Vast fleets of wind-powered pumps could draw seawater to the surface during the frigid winter months and spray it across the Arctic surface, where it would rapidly freeze in the sub-zero air. An American architect has recently designed a polar umbrella, a structure that would float in Arctic seas, using solar power to harvest seawater and create new ice. Deployed in the regions experiencing the fastest melting, these umbrellas would cast a cooling shade, lowering surface temperatures and rejuvenating the precious Arctic ice, powering the future. From deserts to Orbital, many of these grand solutions share a common challenge. They each demand enormous amounts of resources and energy. Where will we source this power and these materials? And how will our insatiable appetite for energy shape Earth's future? Over the past 2 centuries, our energy consumption has grown exponentially, surging by over 7,000% and fueling a 100-fold increase in global economic output. Sustaining this level of growth will eventually require generating hundreds of trillions of additional watt-hours every single day. Yet, thanks to revolutionary advancements in solar power efficiency, covering just 0.3% of the Earth's surface with solar panels would be sufficient to power all of civilization. And the new frontier for our solar-powered future lies in one of the planet's least hospitable regions: deserts. Deserts offer ideal conditions for solar power generation with their vast, flat landscapes, abundant silicon resources, and constant, intense sunlight. There are now proposals for massive-scale solar farms in the Sahara, capable of generating 4 times our current global energy usage. However, covering over 20% of this desert could trigger dramatic side effects. The increased heat absorbed by the dark solar panels could disrupt global weather patterns and cause a significant spike in temperatures, particularly at the poles. Regardless of how or where we generate our energy, producing too much on the planet will eventually become unsustainable. If our consumption continues to grow at just 2% per year, we will exhaust all the energy accessible to Earth in as little as a few hundred years. But the more immediate threat is the waste heat generated by energy production at this scale, which would heat the Earth by over 20 degrees Celsius, rendering large portions of the planet uninhabitable. This will be the defining challenge of the coming millennia. How do we reconcile continuous energy growth with a safe and stable planet? One potential answer lies in placing large-scale solar power arrays in space. Orbiting above, these arrays could capture uninterrupted sunlight nearly 24 hours a day, then beam the power down to Earth as concentrated lasers or radio waves. Orbital power systems would shed their excess heat into the cold vacuum of space, rather than contributing to the warming of our atmosphere. China is currently planning a 1-kilometer-wide solar array, with the long-term ambition of beaming gigawatt levels of clean electricity down from orbit. And a team from Oxford is designing an even larger station, 1.7 kilometers across, called Cassiopeia, specifically engineered for in-orbit construction. However, collecting power in space and beaming it down still presents its own waste heat challenges, as energy is still being added to the Earth system. The ultimate solution may be to move our most energy-intensive industries entirely into space. In this scenario, energy could be collected, utilized, and radiated away completely outside of Earth's fragile ecosystem. And to transport the necessary materials into space efficiently, we need something incredibly audacious: a space elevator. Like a highway to the heavens, a space elevator would offer safe and affordable passage to the next technological frontier, enabling the construction of next-generation space infrastructure. To build it, A cable over 36,000 kilometers long would be lowered from a counterweight in geostationary orbit and then anchored to a port station on the equator. A space station would be positioned at geostationary orbit, where gravitational and centrifugal forces balance. Laser or nuclear-powered rail cars would ascend the cable, carrying multiple tons of cargo at a time, potentially driving launch costs down to under $100 per kilogram, 50 times cheaper than today. This could dramatically accelerate the mass production of solar power arrays, orbital data centers, research stations, and spaceports, laying the foundation for a new orbital frontier. However, constructing this beanstalk to the heavens would be a daunting engineering endeavor, requiring tether materials far stronger than anything currently available. And relocating human industry to space introduces its own significant risks, particularly space debris. Even tiny fragments of scrap metal, as small as a fleck of paint, can tear through satellites and vital infrastructure, creating even more debris and triggering a catastrophic chain reaction known as the Kessler syndrome. To mitigate this, AI-guided laser systems could rapidly identify and deflect small debris, while larger pieces could be safely captured and deorbited. If we can effectively neutralize these risks, then a space elevator could be just the beginning of an even grander vision for our planet's future orbital ring, a crown jewel of space infrastructure. This is the crown jewel of future space infrastructure, the orbital ring. This colossal superstructure could become the backbone of our future civilization, a central hub for everything from energy and transportation to climate management and tourism. In its basic form, a simple loop of incredibly strong wire would orbit the Earth at an altitude of around 200 kilometers, with a stationary platform magnetically levitated above the spinning ring. It could be constructed as a free-floating structure or tethered to the Earth at multiple points. Skyhooks and even hanging skyscrapers could dangle beneath the ring, serving as launch points, research hubs, or even cities in the sky. Rotating the inner side independently would generate artificial gravity through centrifugal force, making the area habitable and offering breathtaking panoramic views of Earth. While current technology cannot simulate gravity on the outer edge, it could still serve as a zone for microgravity industries and research habitats. An intricate network of orbital rings could be built at various inclinations, offering rapid point-to-point travel to almost any location on the planet. These interconnected layers could extend far outwards, potentially even networking with lunar infrastructure. However, the sheer scale of orbital rings would present its own unique dangers. A shadow the width of the ring itself would sweep across the Earth each day. For narrow rings, this would likely have minimal impact on the ecosystems below, but wider rings, stretching over 1,500 kilometers, could cause major disruptions to the climate, blocking out the sun for an hour or more daily. Building one would be a monumental engineering feat, requiring tens of billions of tons of raw materials and constant active computer control to prevent catastrophic collapse. To avoid further impacting Earth, these resources could be mined from asteroids. This may all seem like a distant dream, yet there are already proposals for prototype orbital rings with surprisingly low estimated costs, some as little as $9 billion. People and heavy cargo could be transported along the ring networks to anywhere on Earth in mere hours. Vast orbital cities and arable land could encircle the planet, serving as new frontiers for humanity. And with energy and heavy industry seamlessly integrated into the ring's infrastructure, we could scale our growth without further disturbing our precious home world, preserving Earth as a sanctuary for life.